Greetings, English 9 students. Ms. Vico here. Today we're going to be looking at the very last part of the short story unit, putting it all together with student choice. Let's get started. So we've been practicing the skills of summarizing, inferring, making a claim, adding evidence, and showing your reasoning. Now it's your turn to show your proficiency in each of these skills. Let's get started. So here's the learning target. I know I have learned when I can summarize a story I choose, make deeper connections through inferring, and answer a question to make a claim, support it with evidence, and add my reasoning. Those are the skills that you've been working on since the beginning of this quarter. Can you believe next week, Friday, a week from this Friday, it is the end of the quarter. Whew, flew by. So this is what you should be able to say, yep, I know I've learned this. So here's what we're going to do. First, you choose one of the following stories to read. The Veld, The Landlady, The Most Dangerous Game. Last week on Thursday, we went through an overview of each one of these stories and/or we watched a little movie trailer about each one of them. You can find all these stories, all these stories are in Common Lit, and you can find them in a Google Classroom. Now that you've chosen a story, it's time to show your math skills. So there's a skills document linked in Classroom to organize each skill. You will use this document next week when you do the final assessment, and you are going to be so excited about what your final assessment is. I'm just like, don't know if I should tell you or keep you in suspense. I'm going to keep you in suspense. So let's walk through the document together. I'm going to model how to fill out this document. A lot of this should look very familiar to you. The layout, the learning target is what I just went through. Notice I'm going to ask you to put an X next to the choice of story that you're going to be doing. That will help me when I'm looking at your practice and giving you feedback to know which story you are referring to. So the first thing you're going to do is summarize the story. Now don't worry, I'm not asking you to write a full summary this time. I am asking you, however, to pick out the key details, because those key details are going to help you with making inferences and also with your claim evidence reasoning that you're going to be doing. Now to model this for you, I'm going to use Little Red Riding Hood. Remember we worked with that story last week. It was a children's story that we watched and read together. So I'm going to begin with, who are the main characters? Well, we know that Little Red, and the wolf. Notice I'm just putting in what needs to be there. Who? Main characters, Little Red and the wolf. What's the conflict? Well, the conflict is the wolf pretends to be Little Red's grandma. Whoopsie, grandma. So he can eat Little Red too. Yep. When is the action happening? When Little Red arrives at her grandma's house. Where does the story take place? Where does the conflict take place? Grandma's bedroom. And how is the conflict resolved? Well, the conflict is resolved when the police come and grab the wolf and shake him until Grandma and Little Red fall out of his mouth. The police arrest the wolf. That's the end of the story. Now, I'm looking at this. Do I have everything? The wolf pretends to be Little Red's grandma so he can eat Little Red too. Is that the full conflict? I think it's that the wolf is really hungry. And goes to grandma's house to wait for Little Red. Then he pretends to be Little Red's grandma so he can eat Little Red too. So notice I added a little bit more into what the conflict is. So now I've got all the key details to this story. I answered the questions who, what, when, where, and how, right from the story. It's easy and simple just like that. So now we're going to go on and we're going to make some inferences. I know that when I was making inferences about this story, I used some of the strategies listed here. For example, ask yourself, what do I know about these types of people or situations? So I was thinking about the wolf there. Usually a wolf means scary, not to be trusted, sly. I also looked at when identifying when something doesn't seem to fit or feel right. Right? I was like feeling a little insecure when Little Red was in the forest and the wolf was asking her questions and she was giving him way too much information. Remember stranger danger? And then I also looked at the evidence, which was really specific, and that's when Little Red was saying, "My, what big eyes you have! My, what big ears you have," and so on and so forth. So those were the strategies I was using when I was making inferences. And so I can infer Little Red is very trusting because she talks to the wolf, Yixie, in the woods. I can also infer the wolf is not to be trusted because he gets information from Little Red, and then he uses the information to go to Grandma's house. He's a sly guy. One more inference. I can infer Little Red did not believe it was her grandma in the head because she said, "What big eyes you have, and what big ears you have, and what big teeth you have." She was looking at him and just like making all these obvious notations of how it wasn't her grandmother. So those are my inferences, and that's how I know. I justified it. Now I'm going to go down to the claim. My question for this is, what lesson did the reader learn? I better put that in here. What lesson does the reader learn? Well, my claim then is the answer to this. So the reader learns the lesson because I was the reader, learned from this story is people should trust their intuition. Okay, that's my claim. What's my textual evidence? When Little Red walked into her grandma's house, yikes, that's spelled wrong, I'll fix it later. Go into her grandma's room. She made statements such as, what big eyes you have. What big teeth you have. What big ears you have. And then she said, you're not my grandma. So there's my textual evidence, right? You should trust your intuition. So now I'm going to put it all together into my reasoning. I'm thinking about what my claim is, my textual evidence, and here's my reasoning. Little Red, red shows us people should trust their intuition. When Little Red arrives at her grandma's house, she is unsettled by the grandma's voice. She makes statements, noticing the figure in the bed did not look like her grandma. She hesitates and then realizes that it wasn't her grandma in the bed. She should have listened to her instincts. Her intuition to keep her out of danger. So as you can see, I have taken the claim, the lesson that I learned, I brought that down into my reasoning. I used the evidence, but I did not restate the evidence. I didn't even explain it. I just added to it. Like, what is all that saying? Like, she's really hesitating. She doesn't think it's her grandma, and that's why she asks all those questions. So that's my reasoning. So that is how you fill out and do this document. So you're going to walk through this document after you've read your story. And you're going to do the summarizing, do the inferring, use some of those strategies that are listed right above it, and then you're going to do your claim, evidence, and reasoning. All right, that's my model. Let's go back to the lesson. So now that you've chosen a story, it's time to show your math skills. I want to show you what your document looks like that you're going to be working with. It's very similar to what I just showed you with mine. And scroll down, you can see, oops, I can see that I have the wrong one linked here. Uh-oh, better fix that before you guys, goodness, I have the wrong one linked. Yep, I will have to fix that. Oh, here we go. Now we have the right one. Okay, so everything else is the same, right? You're making you're summarizing, just looking for key details. Here are the strategies to use when making inferences. And then down here, you're making a claim. Now, there's going to be something a little different. You need to have a question to answer when you make a claim. So you're going to answer the following essential question. It's been the big question that we've used throughout this entire short story unit. And that is, how do people or characters respond to society's expectations and norms? This moves you beyond the obvious and will help you with the final short story unit assessment, which is next week. So here's a little tidbit. Society's expectations, that's people or characters act in a way that's expected, right? We expect that let me think of an example. We expect that when you get good grades, your parents are going to be super happy. So if they were disappointed because you got really super good grades, that would not be how society would expect parents to act. How about the norms? Societies have norms, normal ways to act and respond to situations, right? If you're speeding and you get a ticket, that's just a norm. You just know if you speed and a cop is around, you're going to get a ticket, probably, unless you can talk your way out of it, which good luck and congratulations if you can. So we have expectations and the normal way people behave. So you're going to be answering that question. So as you're reading, it's super important to keep that question at the forefront. It's also going to be important that when you're annotating your story, that you're looking specifically also for these things that are not normal. Are people acting in ways you'd expect? Are they normal? What's showing you that they're not? And by the way, I can tell you in all three stories, things aren't normal. They do not act the way the society would expect them to act. Seriously weird stuff happens in each one of these stories. So that's it. This is going to be due on Friday at 11:59 p.m., completely filled out. All right. So let's go back over to the final part of the presentation today. Recap. Choose a story. Read the story and annotate for key details and for evidence that might answer that question, that essential question. You're going to make a claim and answer the question, how do people or characters respond to society's expectations and norms? Look at how the characters act. What do they say? What's implied? You should be getting kind of like one of those creepy feelings like, uh-oh, something bad's going to be happening. Each one of the stories will give you that feeling. So that's it. Happy Halloween. Boo. So bye for now. See you in our Google Meet. Have a great, great day.